God is good.
Reading test is the aspect of the IELTS test that assesses or evaluates your ability to read information and provide answers based on what you're able to get. The reading test lasts for about 60 minutes. It's divided into 3 sections. There are 3 long passages that you have to read. And of course, the reading test is not just the 3 passages you have to read. It also has some other extracts, some guided compositions, and a few other things. So all of that put together would help you to achieve the complete reading test. Okay, now in the reading test, IELTS experts and IELTS body find the reading test as the simplest part of the IELTS exam, the reading test. They see it as the simplest, and the reason for this is because they feel you have the opportunity to actually read more than twice if you are a fast reader. They feel you are as free as anyone to read multiple times, to actually go through a particular information multiple times until you find your answer. Unlike the listening test, where the listening test, which plays just once, and after that it's never replayed, right? But the reading test, you have the freedom to read as many times as possible. And then they also feel that, unlike listening test, as a non-native English speaker, you may not correctly hear what was said. But your reading test, every information is printed there on the question paper. They feel you should be able to locate and retrieve your answers. So this is why reading test marking scheme is quite high. If you take on a listening test and you're able to score like 30, that will be giving you about 7.0. But if you score 30 in reading test, you might be having about 6.0. Do you understand? So please, your reading test requires a lot of efforts, a lot of concentration. Then let's understand that the reading test shows a very high level of paraphrase. So when you are reading, it is important you make use of your pencil. If you are doing a computer-based test, make use of your highlighting skills. So highlight key information in the passage while you read, because those key information are the possible words or phrases that will be paraphrased. So when you go to the question section, you would realize that the words used to ask the questions are not the same as the words that you read in the passage. So in some cases, certain persons feel that the answers are not there, whereas it's just staring at you in the eyes or in the face. Right? So please, you need to do a lot of underlining or highlighting. We have these important keys that you are advised to apply. We call these the 3 T's. These 3 T's are trick, also known as the bracket trick. Then we have the tips, and of course we have the techniques. So to begin, let's look at the bracket trick. We actually treated this intensively during our listening test session, right? And for the trick, if you look at what is written on the board right here, it's simply saying that you are expected to stick to the instruction. So for you to successfully apply the bracket trick, you are meant to adhere strictly to the instruction. And this instruction right here says no more than 2 words and or a number. So you are not here when we did listening test. So I'd like to give you the mic. Welcome. Please, how can you interpret an instruction that says no more than 2 words and or a number? What does it mean? No, you can sit.
It means it could be
just one word, or it could be two words. Maybe the other one in bracket, or
Which other one?
maybe it could be two answers.
Two-word answer?
I mean, two-word answers. Yeah. Maybe you could write both, but one in bracket.
Okay. One out of the words you've written as your answer, right?
Yeah.
One can be in bracket. But my question was, what does this mean?
Okay.
Not how to write the
Okay.
answer.
It means
Your answer can be
one
word,
word, or it can be two words.
2 words.
Or it could be a number.
It could be a number. Perfect. Perfect. Well done. You are really practiced. Okay, so that's actually what it is. So to better establish or interpret what this instruction means, Jenny, please help us. How do we interpret this instruction? Yes, Jennifer.
Okay, so one word.
The answer can be one word,
Two word.
one word and a number, two words.
Two words and a number. A number.
All right, thank you. So that's what this instruction actually means. So let's understand. I want us to spot something right here. I don't know if you've actually spotted that already. When we were treating, don't worry yourself. Don't worry yourself too much. Just relax. Yeah, take it. Okay, is this sleep? Sorry. Please, in listening test, where does the bracket trick, under what category of instructions does the bracket trick begin to play out? Do you understand my question?
Yes.
Okay.
When you are not sure of the name, when you are not sure that that particular answer is not supposed to be there, you bracket it. You put a bracket.
Done?
Yes.
Thank you very much. You've done so wonderfully. Do you understand my question? My question was, under what category of instruction does the bracket trick begin to play out in listening test? Under what category of instruction do we begin to apply the bracket trick in listening test? Sir, under what category of instruction do we apply the bracket trick in listening test?
When a question is paraphrased.
Thank you, sir. Welcome back.
I think it's in one word. You can use the two words where the question is asked. One word.
Thank you. Don't go too far. If you say the second one, you spoil your answer.
One word.
Thank you. We begin to apply the bracket trick in listening test when instruction says no more than one word and or a number. My question was under what category of instruction?
Okay, on that.
Now here, instruction says no more than 2 words. for reading tests. But if it were to be the listening test, we're not going to start with no more than 2 words. We'll rather begin with what? No more than 1 word. For listening test, you apply your bracketry because you are not 101% sure of what was pronounced, right? You're not so sure of what was pronounced. So that's why you tend to consider if the word you heard should be in singular or plural. Can you remember? But in reading test, please, you don't apply the bracket trick if you're treating 1 word section. Any section that says no more than 1 word and a number, no need for the bracket trick. The reason is because the question or the passage you read, the sentence where your answer will be extracted from, where that 1 word answer will be extracted from, that's 1 word you're seeing. If it's supposed to be in a singular form, it will be used in a sentence in a singular form. So there is no need for you to now say, let me just put S in case. Please, do you understand this? Because the word used in a sentence is in a perfect form for it to make sense in that sentence. Please, do you understand this? So we don't consider the bracket trick. So if that word is in a plural form, copy and paste in a plural form. If it is in a singular form, copy and paste as a singular word. Right? But in listening test, you are trying to play safe, right? When the word is pronounced, such as the B. The B. You see that when I say the B, there is something that sounds like S at the end, but you are not too sure, right? So you now want to put that S in bracket. After writing B-E-E, then your S will be in bracket. That keeps you safe. So that if the examiners if what the examiners fixed for that answer is B, then that S in bracket will be ignored and your answer will be marked. But if what is fixed to be the answer is B's, that S in bracket will be acknowledged and you are perfect. But in reading test, it's always fixed. So please, don't bring in the bracket trick. Now, for reading test, the bracket trick begins to play out from section that says no more than 2 words and or a number. That's when we begin to apply the bracket. Now, how does this work? Just the same way we apply it in listening test. When you hear 2-word answer. For instance, please, what's on the board? Jennifer, can you pronounce what we have on the board as answer?
Tyrant dog.
Tyrant dog. We know what it means, no, right? A tyrant dog. Maybe a kind of dog that bullies others, right? Now, if you have read the passage and what you discovered to be the correct answer and happens to be tyrant dog, this is a 2-word answer, is that correct? And it's in consonance with the instruction, no more than 2 words. Now here, what you have to do would be, having identified the 2 words that you feel are perfect for the answer or you feel should be the correct answer, you want to play safe by putting one of these answers in bracket. So the one that you're to put in bracket has to be the word that is the supporting word, not the main answer, the supporting word. So how do you identify the supporting word? From the question. The question is asking about the creature that is very different from its fellow, right? Then is the dog, right? The dog. Now, for that particular dog in question, there is something about it, that's its attributes, right? Which is the tyrant. So, tyrant is an adjective describing the characteristic of the dog. So it has to be in bracket. Perhaps from the passage, it is not in capital. So this is the bracket trick. Right? So in this case, if what the examiners have actually identified to be the correct answer is just the dog, without necessarily needing tyrant, what they do is they will ignore this tyrant because it is in bracket. So your dog is correct this way. But if what they want is both the tyrant and the dog, the tyrant which is in bracket will be acknowledged and your answer will be marked correct. Please, do you understand this? This is for 2-word answer. If it is a 3-word answer, when it says no more than 3 words and or a number, the interpretation is that your answers are not to be written in 3 words all through compulsorily, no. So no more than 3 means do not write beyond 3, but your answer can fall between 1 to 3 words. So your answer can be a 1-word answer, a 1 word and a number, 2 words answer, 2 words and a number, 3 words answer, 3 words and a number. Then of course, just a number without a word. Please, do we understand this? Now, in this case, if you've read a passage and maybe what you got as your answer or what you found to be your answer happens to be the mysterious cap. The mysterious cap happens to be your answer. So in this case, it is a 3-word answer, right? It's still in consonance with the instruction. So, but then it doesn't, the having instruction stipulating no more than 3 words does not mean that your answer should be 3 words all through, right? So some words may be 3 words, some may be 2, some may be just 1, right? So to play safe, just in case a particular question does not require the 3 words, all you need to do is identify the supporting words right here and put them in bracket. Okay, so mysterious is an adjective describing the nature of the cap, right? The is an article making specifics to the cap, right? Whereas cap is the receiver of all of those attributes. So the cap is a noun, is the main answer. The word they is an article, so it has to be in bracket. The word mysterious is an article, it's an adjective, is a descriptive word to the cap, right? So that's why we are putting the first 2 words in bracket, in individual brackets, not putting 2 words in 1 bracket, no, right? So we are having the 2 words in individual brackets, then the cap is left open since it is our primary answer. So in this case, if the examiner wants only the cap without necessarily needing the and mysterious, because they are in bracket, they will be ignored and your cap will be marked. If the examiner wants the cap without establishing the mystery or without identifying the nature of the cap, then because this guy is in bracket, then the cap will be acknowledged while this guy will be ignored. So whichever it is, this just keeps you safe, right? So let's go further quickly to tips. Okay, right here on the board we have tips, reading tips. The first tip is that you are strongly advised to always read the instruction for each section carefully before attempting any question. Always read the instruction for each section carefully before attempting any question. Now, why is it necessary to read instructions before you begin anything? 1, reading instructions will help you to know how many words your answer shouldn't exceed, right? Reading instruction will help you to know if your answer should be written in alphabets, A, B, C, D, and all that. A lot of people fail their answers because instead of writing A, B, C, D, they are busy copying what is written against the A, B, C, D. No examiner would have time to start matching your answers to A, B, C, D. Right? So if you read the instruction, you'll be able to establish if your answer should be in A or B or C or whatever it is. Instruction will also help you to know if your answer should be in Roman numerals. V, and all that. Reading instruction also will help you to know if you are to pick any two. Remember, if you don't read the instructions, you might end up, rather than writing A for 11, B for 12, C for 13, you might just write ABC against 11, because you didn't realize that you have to choose any three correct letters for questions 1 to 13. So when you read the instruction, you will realize that yes, that the three correct letters should cover 11, 12, and 13. Reading instructions also will help you to know if you are to complete sentences. It will be written there. It will help you to know if you are to match headings. It will help you to know if you are filling in blank spaces. It will help you to know if you are to establish whether a statement is true or false or not given. So these are things you get to know by reading instructions. Then the next tip right here is Q's plus P plus Q equal A. So what does this mean? By default, that your reading should take the approach of going through the questions first. The questions under that particular section you want to treat. Each section will come with a number of questions, sometimes 5 questions, 7 questions. So you are always advised to go through those questions first. So when you read the questions, you need to identify the keywords in each question. Please, you are not reading the questions to cram the questions. Of course, that would affect what you're reading. And don't even read the question more than once. Don't. If you read more than once, the brain will pick interest in the question. And once the brain picks interest in the question, it means you are reading specifically for that particular question. So for you to solve any other answer, you have to go back to read again. So it is better to just read each question once. And the reason for reading once is even to identify the keywords in each question. So it will be easier for you to know what you're reading for when you go to the passage. So the first thing is read the questions. After reading the questions, you go to the passage. Read the passage. So as you read the passage, you would also realize that when you get to certain information that you feel are related to those keywords in the questions you saw, all you need to do is use your pen or pencil or highlighting function and rule under that particular information in the passage that you feel is referring to the keywords in the question that you've gone through initially. Do you understand this? So you need to be doing a lot of these sort of underlining as you read. Do a lot of underlining. So once you have completed your reading and you've done all the underlining of the key information in the passage that you feel are potential answers to those questions, then you go back to the question. But this time around, you're not going to the question to read all. You're going to take the questions one at a go. So you read the first question, you go back to the passage. Now when you go back to the passage, you are not going to read the passage anymore. You are going to scan through those underlined areas. Those are places you will not find your answers. Do you understand me? So this will help you to get your answers and also manage your time. If you don't do this, you'll always want to read through the passage again, each question. I don't have such time. Right? So these are the tips you should please apply during your reading test. Okay, let's go to the next, which is the techniques. Okay, so let's look at the techniques. Techniques in reading tests we are going to look at 6 different techniques. The first one is the paraphrase. Paraphrase in reading test is quite high. It's quite high to the extent that certain persons will find it difficult to actually locate the correct answer. It's not like they hide it deliberately, but because they paraphrase the information that you've read. So when you read questions, when you read passages, the questions are not usually asked using the same words you have read. So they tend to use the synonyms of the words used in the passage to ask you the questions. So if you're not able to actually understand that these are the synonyms of these keywords, it will be quite difficult for you to decipher what the answer actually is. Now, in paraphrasing, during the listening test, we learned how paraphrasing goes from words to figures. That was when we talked about things like $1 being paraphrased to 100 cents, half an hour being paraphrased to 30 minutes. We'll have maybe a month being paraphrased to 4 weeks. These are different things, different approaches or ways paraphrasing plays out. Then in words, it can also be paraphrased from figures to words, right? Paraphrasing can also be from words or figures to fractions or percentage. You might read a passage that talks about a quarter of the budget being earmarked for capital expenditure. Then the question, instead of saying a quarter of the budget, it says 25% of the budget has been marked out for main projects. So those who read a quarter in the passage and then going to the question, you are seeing 25%. You will start searching for 25% in the passage, you will never see it. Whereas that 25% has been established where you have a quarter. That's paraphrase. So these are things and ways paraphrasing will always play out. Now let's look at skimming. What does skimming mean? Skimming, who has an idea? Skimming? Skimming is a fast reading technique of going through an information in between lines at very fast pace. Is a reading technique of going through an information in between lines at very fast pace. So in reading test, if you actually want to complete your reading within the time frame you are given, you need to improve on your skimming skills. If you are reading like you are going through Nigerian newspaper, you'll be able to finish. You'll be at number 12. You have 20 minutes more. Yes, it happens. So if you really want to complete your reading within the time frame, 60 minutes period, you need to improve on your skimming skills. Learn to read very fast. So when you're reading, you underline major information in the passage as you come across them. As you read and you find major information, use your pen or pencil and underline. There is no extra mark if you return the question paper being neat. Nobody gives you an additional mark. They will collect it. You don't have to return. They will come and take it because it is their property. You pay to write exam and get your score. All right. I wish they were releasing it. If that was actually happening, you come here, you don't see big shelf full of past questions. But it's not possible.
So why do you get
The questions you practice with, they are likely questions, not the exact questions. Likely questions. So, now as you read your passage, please underline. Now let's understand, what do we underline? Please, you might note this down. You have to underline quantity. Quantity has to do with numbers, right? So wherever you see numbers, whether written in figures or in words, underline it. Or underline them. What do we underline? Quantity. Whether in figures or in words. Underline percentages. Percentages. Whether spelled or written in a symbol form. Underline dates. Underline periods or durations. The period right here we are talking about, it could be year, from so year to so year, right? It could also be in centuries, early 18th century, early 20th century, depends. Underline that. You also need to underline what you need to underline? Duration, periods or duration. It could be year, from so year, 1800 to 1840. It could be the early 90s. It could be in 20th centuries, however it's being written. Please underline. You also need to underline locations. Okay? Locations, environments where things were actually discovered or where a particular activity was carried out. They are potential answers. You also need to underline ideologies and philosophies of certain researchers or scientists. Ideologies and philosophies of certain researchers or scientists talked about in the passage. Because sometimes questions may ask you, what does so and so person feel? Or what did this researcher say about so and so? So whatever thing the person has expressed is the ideology or philosophy. They are sometimes your answers. You also need to identify their inventions. Their inventions or things they manufactured. You need to underline inventions or whatever they manufactured or whatever they created. They are potential answers. You also need to identify how problems were resolved. How problems were resolved. Then you need to identify how problems are or were or can be resolved. What's that? Gina? No water? Okay, don't worry, Gina. Now you also need to identify. You're not. You're cough. Let's see. This batch,
We are 2 months.
the batch is full of people that want to be taken care of. Soft life. Okay, you also need to identify examples. Whenever an example is cited in the passage, please don't ignore those examples. They are often potential answers. And there is something about examples in reading test. When you have something here, comma, another thing here, then and the other one. In most cases, this is usually the answer. The one that comes after. Now, another scenario would be when a particular instance is cited, full stop. Then additionally, they begin to talk about other things that will lead to example. This guy here, the one that was first established just promptly, is often the answer. Right? Then of course, if there is anything that has to do with money, I said in some cases, now, at this point also, I said if an example is cited or given in the first sentence, then it ends with a full stop, right? Then there is an additional information that also gives birth to more examples. In most cases, that first example that does not draw any attention is where the answer lies. Yes. Yes. Please, do you understand this? So these are things you actually need to underline when you are reading. Okay? Then let's go to scanning. Let's go to scanning. Now, what is scanning? What does it mean? Scanning is a reading technique of spotlighting or searching through an information with the aims. There are empty seats right here. There are brilliant people
in front. Oh, Jesus.
Sorry. Okay, so right here, scanning simply means a reading technique of spotlighting or searching through an information with the aims of completing your reading within the time frame you're given and also having a grasp of what has been read. Scanning is a reading technique of spotlighting or searching through an information very quickly as well, with the aims of completing your reading within the time frame given and also having a grasp of the idea or information there. So in scanning, have you gotten all I said? I said scanning is a fast reading technique of spotlighting or searching through an information with the aims or purposes of spotlighting, one word, S-P-O-T-L-I-G-H-I, blah, blah, blah. Or searching through an information with the aims of completing your reading task within the time frame given and also having a grasp of what has been read. With the aims, those two things are involved. Aims of completing your reading task within the time frame given and also having a grasp of what has been read. And also having a grasp of what has been read. Taken? You're lost, right? Don't worry, you catch up. What you might want to do is get these down first so you can snap, you can talk to any of them, snap the notes. And also what we do every day is being sent on our YouTube channel, so you can just have a watch. But just snap. I'm sure you catch up. We're not going too far. Okay. A grasp of what has been read. Your lecturer has tried to.
No, I was writing something as I
Okay. So in between skimming and scanning, which actually helps you, which gives you better understanding of what you're reading? Between skimming and scanning, which gives you better understanding of whatever you're reading? Which one? Is it the skimming or the scanning? Pardon? Scanning. Which please? Skimming? Final answer? Skimming. Thank you. So, which gives you better understanding? Skimming or scanning? Scanning. So, you heard my explanation, right? Which gives you better understanding? Scanning. Jenny, which gives you better understanding? Scanning. Okay. So, between skimming and scanning, let me just ask. Which do you think gives better understanding?
Everybody's going to scan this.
Don't go with the crowd! Don't go with follow the road.
Actually, scanning is.
But ironically, it's not scanning. It is.
skimming, you're reading in between lines.
What does that mean? When you're reading in between lines.
This one is.
Scanning, you're just spotlighting. You're just searching through. You are not reading to understand. The purpose or the aims of scanning would be to complete your reading and have a grasp. Grasp doesn't mean full information, right? So it is the skimming that you have to read in between lines. Do you understand? You read in between lines. So that gives you better understanding. But scanning, you are only trying to, I saw it somewhere, I saw it somewhere. That's what you do. Do you understand? Okay, so please, your scanning is a reading technique of spotlighting or searching through an information at very fast pace with the aims of completing your reading task within the time frame given and also having a grasp of what has been read. More so, scanning is aimed at locating where an answer is situated. Scanning is aimed at locating where an answer is situated. Okay, now let's go to jotting, labeling, and making notes. Jotting, labeling, and making notes are reading techniques that help you to give tags. Do you know where we are?
Yes.
And you have gotten that. Can you tell me to come again?
No, I don't really need to write it.
Okay, perfect. I like that. So, jotting, labeling, or making notes are reading techniques that help you to give tags, titles, themes, topics of the paragraphs you have read based on your understanding of each. They are reading techniques that help you to give tags, titles, captions, themes, topics to whatever paragraph you have read based on your understanding. So when you read a paragraph, for instance, and you feel this paragraph is, I think it's talking about the old way of life. So you are giving it ancient lifestyle. That is your tag for it. That's your title for it. Please, you understand this? When you read the second paragraph and you feel, oh, this guy is actually talking about joining a club, you just give the tag, enrolling in a club or being a member of a club. That's your tag for it. Please, you understand? Now this particular techniques will always help you to solve matching headings. Matching, you know, it's usually a very crazy topic in reading test. So, if you don't match, what will happen is you will always read again just to see if it makes sense. But if you read by default and you are able to give a caption to each paragraph, when you go to the headings you're supposed to match, you realize that your caption relates or looks like this heading. So it's easier for you to just link it. Please, you understand? It saves your time and also helps you to attain some level of accuracy in your choices of answers. Now, the next is ruling or crossing out. The ruling or crossing out techniques are your time management techniques. They are your time management techniques. They help you to manage your time, thereby reducing your areas of search for answers. They help you to manage your time, thereby reducing your areas of search for answers. Let's take for instance, if these guys, okay, let's assume these are different paragraphs, right? And let's assume also this is labeled paragraph A, paragraph B, paragraph C, and paragraph D. You see this type of labels when you're reading. Now, after reading the first paragraph, second, third, and fourth, then you come over here to match these headings. You want to determine if this one word is talked about in this paragraph over here, right? So, when you read this question, you are supposed to come here first and check if that's where your answer lies, right? So, when you read through this first paragraph and you don't find your answer, you're supposed to go to the next paragraph. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So when you come to this next paragraph, if you don't still find your answer, you go down. So if you come here, for instance, and you find your answer, so you go to that question number, maybe 21, and write what? C, because this is where you found the answer. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Now you go to the second heading. When you read it, of course you're supposed to go back to the top, because you never found an answer right there. So you check through. If you don't find it, you need to scan through. If you don't find it, you need to scan through. If you don't find it, you come here. Maybe if you find it, you read. You go to your 22 and write what? D. Now, the time you took or you spent reading through this guide is a waste of precious time. Do you understand this? Now, by default, the only thing that will make you to read a paragraph that has given you an answer again to see if another answer is there. The only thing that will make you do that is if the instruction gives you something like this. Okay? If you are going through an instruction and you spot something like this, note before you may use any letter more than once. It means a paragraph can solve two different questions. It's certain you will see it. But if you don't find that instruction, it simply means one man, one wife. Do you understand this? So if a question solves, if a paragraph rather solves a question, it's gone forever. Do you understand? So let's assume that this particular passage does not have this instruction. So by implication, when C gives you an answer, you're not supposed to come back to read C for another answer, right? Yeah. Mr. Austin, please let me tell them you are busy now. They should come back later. Alright. So when you are searching for, when you get your answer from this paragraph C, with your pencil, ruling or crossing out is done by way of just ruling line in between. So this will give you the indication that that paragraph is taken. So when you're searching for the next answer, if you go through the first paragraph, second paragraph, and you don't find your answer, automatically skip this guy and go to the next. Now, D has, imaginarily, D has solved another question. So we'll also apply the crossing and ruling out. So this is helping to reduce our areas of search for answer. Our time management is high, right? So your next answer should be searched between A and B. Do you understand this?
Yes, sir.
Alright, so that's how to apply the ruling or crossing out technique. They help you to manage your time and also reduce your areas of search for answers. So these are the different techniques in reading tests that you need to apply. And the only way to get used to them is by practicing. You practice and apply them, you see them work for you. But in reading exercise, no one person can tell you the best approach. You will have to find out what works for you. Because what works for you may not work for her. There are some persons who treat reading tests based on topics. They go through the different sections and identify the different, reading test is given from different topics. Are we aware? That's what we are going to next. The different topics in reading test. So some persons are very vast in topics. So they go through the reading test treating the different topics. So if the first topic they are most comfortable doing is covering questions 31 to 35, they go to 31 to 35 and solve first. Because they are confident that this one, I'm very confident, I'm very sure. So once they solve 31 to 35, then the next topic might be sentence completion and covering between 21 to 25. They go to 21 to 25, solve sentence completion. Do you understand? So by doing this, their time management is quite high and accuracy of the answers are also high. While some other persons want to be very faithful, they want to treat the reading test starting from 1 to 40. No matter how difficult it is, they just want to go through that part. Right? So you need to practice and discover what works for you. That's the best way to go. But ensure that you are working within the time. Because reading test, the normal time runs faster than regular. You realize that you are given 60 minutes. But before you know Jack, you'll be told, to be announced that you have 20 minutes more. And once you get that information, 20 minutes more, there's this village code that will come and hug you. AC cannot cure that heat at that point. You'll be sweating profusely. So please, practice is what will help us to improve.
So I'm writing the test. You write everything you want.
Paper-based test, you take on the listening, reading, and writing in one day. Your speaking, if you register for the IELTS exam early enough, your speaking will come before the listening, reading, and writing. You know, the speaking is just you and the examiner. But the listening, reading, and writing, over 100 or 200 test takers in the hall will do it at the same time. You want to do your own homework? You can apply for it. No stress.
But is it possible to do that?
No. Prepare your mind.
Hey, okay.
Right. So right here on the board we have different topics you take on consciously and unconsciously during your reading test. The first topic right there on the board is what we call the matching paragraphs. Matching paragraphs is considered to be the easiest topic in reading test. Matching paragraphs is considered to be the easiest topic in reading test. As a matter of fact, I often encourage candidates, look for that topic. If you see it as a part of your reading test questions, please treat that guy first. The reason is because the answers are fixed. There are particular locations in each paragraph where your answers are fixed. So you don't necessarily need to follow this rule of reading questions first, going through the passage, going back to the question before you find your answers. No. That's the only topic that breaks all of those protocols. So for that topic, all you need to do is just, if you identify that this is matching paragraphs questions, read the first question. Go to the first paragraph. Read the first sentence. If the answer is not there, read the second sentence. If it's not there, go to the last sentence of that same paragraph. These are the three locations your answers are fixed. Please, do you understand this? For matching paragraphs, the answers are fixed at either the first sentence or second sentence or the last sentence of each paragraph. These are places the answers are fixed. Do you understand this? First, second, or last sentences of each paragraph lies your answers. Matching paragraphs. Answers can be found either at the first sentence or second sentence or the last sentence of each paragraph. But please, don't expect the questions to be asked using the same words in the passage or paragraph. They will always paraphrase the questions. Do you understand? Prepare your mind for this. It will just be one word. It will just one word that will be paraphrased. That's where your answer is. Right? So that's how to solve matching paragraph questions. I would like us to take some time, maybe tomorrow. I'll project some of these topics and show you where they are, so that when you practice, you also apply the same technique. Right? Now let's go to locating and identifying information. They are quite synonymous. The approach of getting the answers are the same. For locating or identifying information, your answers, or 50% of the answers, are situated just like in matching paragraphs. What does that mean? For locating or identified information, 50% of the answers are gotten just as in matching paragraphs. Please, what does this mean? The microphone is for you. I said locating and identifying information. That's the second and third topics right there. Can you see them? Locating information and identifying information. The way to get their answers are synonymous with the approach of matching paragraphs. 50% of the answers of locating and identifying information are gotten just the same way as in matching paragraphs. What does that mean? This is IELTS. No easy question. You need to think critically. Let me take that again. I said locating information and identifying information. The answers can be found just as in matching paragraphs, just as it is practiced in matching paragraphs. What does that mean? Let's try.
I think it's by, you read and locate information, then you underline them, then
Thank you so
try
much.
to
Thank you so much. Yes, sir. Should I take that again?
No.
Okay, you got that. All right.
The answers can always be found from the first, second, or third paragraph.
Thank you. These are people that know he did just tricks. He will pass his IELTS. 50% of the answers
Is it first, second,
and last sentences. Third, last. First, second, and last sentences. So the answers to identifying and locating information are gotten just as in the practice of matching paragraphs.
So
First, second, and
what
last.
is the different statements you made there? You said 50%.
Yes.
Of the answers are found.
Yes. Now let's explain. You don't find all the answers in the first, second, and last. That's what it means. So 50% of locating and identifying paragraphs questions, the answers, 50% of it, you find them just the same approach as in matching paragraphs. Do you understand? So the remaining ones, you find them in the middle of your paragraphs. In between. Please, do you understand this? So you just have to read the questions, locate, identify the paraphrased information. You find your answers there. Right? Now let's look at sentence completion. Sentence completion is synonymous with what we did in secondary schools, where you are given your English textbook. During passage exercises, you would realize that the passages are structured in a way that the answers we found in a descending order, right? So you may be asked,
IAS is coming, IAS.
It's only for sitting.
how much? Huh? 22. 32. Okay. Do a transfer to them from the app. Alright. So, in sentence completion, you realize that your passage, as in secondary school level, you will read the passage. For instance, there's this popular passage like, what is this? Edet lives in Calabar.
Chiga and the river.
No, is that was a storybook passage. Edet lives in Calabar, which is not too far from Agbo. The father is Mr. Do you understand? So now, the question might ask you, Edet lives in Dash. You know your answer is where? Calabar. Right? Calabar is not far from Dash. Agbo. Right? In sentence completion, it is the same approach. The only difference is that it won't be Edet lives in Dash. It might be the young man or the key character in the passage is considered to be domiciled in Dash. See the paraphrase now. Right?
Yeah.
So they just
Twist.
twist everything, but it is still the same information. Yes, now. Sure, you want to prove to them you know their language. So we are giving it to you hot. Alright, so please, that's the way to go when you're treating sentence completion. You just need to be very smart to identify where your answer is expected to come from. So if you read the question, please try to decipher the paraphrased information and link it to where it's gotten from, then your answers are always there, please. Then summary and short answers. The major thing you want to look at when you're treating summary and short answers will be the instruction. Instruction for summary answers are always looking for maybe 1 or 2 words. Do you understand? 1 or 2 words, that's all. So for that, what you want to do is, if the question says, for instance, a passage says, the federal government of Nigeria is willing to pay anyone $60 million, is willing to pay $60 million to anyone who has information as to why we lost the finals. The federal government of Nigeria is willing to pay $60 million to anyone who has the information that led to the reason we didn't win the final. Now, if the person says the federal government is willing to pay, let's say 50 to $60 million to anyone with information about what led to the loss in the finals. Now, question under summary or short answers would be, what is the maximum amount federal government is willing to pay anyone who with information about why we didn't get the final or the cup, the trophy? What's the highest amount? 60 million. Don't write 50 to 60 million, because the question is very specific, highest. Right? That's the way to go in short answers. You don't need so much stress. So hit the particular answer that is required. Right? Now, if another question says 2046.5, if another question says for payments you are to meet the central bank governor to clear the money and transfer to your account, and the question says, who should you meet if you are confident about the information that led to our inability to win the trophy? Who should you meet? What will you answer? CBN governor. CBN governor. That would be very wrong. Who should you meet for payment of the amount if you have the information about what led to?
How many words?
Huh?
How many words?
Let's forget about the number of words now. I want us to understand how this answer comes. Who should you meet?
The governor.
Huh?
The governor. What was the question? Yes.
Who should we meet?
For payment of money to anyone who has the confirmed or verifiable information that led to our inability to win the trophy, you are advised to go to the central bank governor, as he has the authorization to make such payments. Taken? Question: who should you meet for payment if you have the information the government needs? That's it.
Who do I meet?
Yes, if you have the information that the government needs about our inability to win the trophy, who should you meet for the payment?
The government. The government will not directly.
Thank you. Thank you. Sir, who should we meet? Thank you very much.
The CBN government.
The CBN government. Who should you meet? The governor. Please, who should you meet? The government. Please, who should you meet? The CBN governor. Who should we meet? The governor. Thank you. You see, this is what happens in IELTS exam hall. Everyone with his or her own idea. Okay, tell him to just give me a moment. The question was, who should you meet? Right? and the passage has established the person that is authorized to make this payment. Who authorized the person? Thank you. The government has authorized a particular designation, right? To make such. So if a person is asking you who should you meet for the payment, you still want to go to the government.
They'll need to confirm now. Before they direct you to go.
Over analysis. Over analysis. Is what you see, this country, we will defeat them. Now, yes, it is. So you say the CBN governor. Thank you. Your answer is correct, but you are going to be much wrong. Do you know why? You have given the acronym of a full name given in the passage.
Okay. You still have to paraphrase.
No. Maybe he's the one paraphrasing the
They
answer.
can say the CBN.
The central bank governor. Do you understand?
Yes.
Use the words in the passage. Don't paraphrase or don't give the acronym. Do you understand? So if the question says you should meet the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, the answer should be the governor. I like that article "they" because it's specific. So don't omit that word "they." Do you understand? This is the way it works. Alright, so let's go to flowcharts. For flowcharts, we are considering reading a passage that is structured with information on chronological or hierarchical or orderly arrangements of events. That is, how things play out from beginning to the end. That's flowcharts. So in flowcharts, you get to read a passage that exposes a particular achievement by following a progress from bottom to top. Right? Let's say, for instance, we know about the popular story of the evolution of man. How man evolved from Homo this to Homo that, right? Now, if a passage is composed in paragraphs, of course, now each paragraph is meant to enlighten us about a particular stage of the evolution. So maybe from Homo habilis, when man was coexisting with animals in the forest, having some appearance or looks of animals, behaving like animals as well, feeding with animals alongside. So after that, or within that same paragraph, it's going to tell you how man actually, the type of food man was actually taking or eating alongside animals. How man was working with the forearms and hind legs like animals. Then after that, the next paragraph will talk about Homo erectus, when man is now trying to stand upright, right? But then, while trying to stand upright, man is also thinking of detaching himself from animals by trying to have what they call spear to protect himself from invasion or attack of wild animals. Then, after that, you talk about Homo sapien, right? When man is now trying to use his head to think, using stones to do what? Create light. When man is now trying to build a little wall to protect himself from invasions and all that. When man is trying to protect himself from extreme weather condition by using hides and skin. Is that correct? So, after all of these expositions in paragraphs, your question would then require you to identify certain words expressed in each paragraph about that particular evolution, that particular stage. So, from the passage, from the entire passage, the question will be drafted by making extracts from each paragraph. You will notice that this small box will contain a set of 2 sentences which have been extracted from the paragraph. Please, do you understand? Are you following what I'm trying to explain? After all the paragraphs of the passage you've read, there will be extraction from each paragraph. Now, the extraction could be maybe 1 sentence or 2 sentences. Now, out of these 1 or 2 sentences that have been extracted from paragraph, there is a particular blank space which information you are meant to get from the main paragraph. Are you following this? So that single word actually describes the particular situation in the first paragraph. Alright? So, and then the good thing about flowcharts is that the answers are usually in the descending order of magnitude. So the answer comes from the top and keeps coming down to the bottom. But it doesn't mean that each paragraph will give you an answer. You could get an answer from the first paragraph. Second paragraph will be omitted. You won't get an answer from there. But the third paragraph will give you the second answer. But once you get an answer from the third paragraph, no other answer will be required to go back to second. Second is gone. Do you understand? So it keeps descending. So that's the way flowchart goes. There are some questions that it doesn't come this easy. It will come like a process diagram. Process diagram is a form of passage where a particular gadget or invention or machine is being described, how it works and what it produces. So at the end of all of the expositions in the passage, then the diagram will be drawn. So when the diagram is drawn, that will be your question now. So they will bring out they will draw outline for you to label part of the diagram. So that is the process diagram. So you are being shown I. What is this I called? What, do you understand? So you have to read the part. Each paragraph describes the different parts of that particular machine. Alright? It's very simple. It's there. It's clearly written. So same thing applies to maps and diagrams. So if it is a map, it might be talking about a particular facility. Maybe how people move in, the different offices, and what plays out in each office, and how people exit. Maybe it also show you the pathway for people with disability, how they structured. So the map will just give you all of that. And it will be explained in paragraphs. Then the drawing will be given, an architectural design. So you are required to relate each of those identified parts of the map to how they are described in the passage. Right? So it's easy to actually locate. Same thing applies to diagrams. When something is drawn out from what is described in the passage, so you are meant to read and relate them. That's all. Okay? Now let's look at matching headings. Okay, put of all of them. Matching headings. For matching headings, I want to establish that there are test takers that don't read passages and they get the answers. There are people who have actually worked on that reading skill. What they do is they read questions and see the keywords in the question, then they go and do scanning and they get it. And it works for them. There are people that read that way and it works for them. Right? While some other persons will read the first question, they will read the whole passage and get the answer. Second question, they will read the whole passage again. Then some other persons will read the questions first, go to the passage, identify keywords that are related to, or that relate to those keywords. So it won't warrant them to start reading the passage all over again. Alright? But in matching headings, please, you must read and understand it. Take your time and read it. Don't try to rush it. Because matching headings comes with what we call distractors. Distractors are some very precise and concise paragraphs that will just give you a flash of the information you are looking for. It will just be there. And a lot of test takers will rush and write it. But that something like that. You were not shading. You were not shading distractors. Okay. But in matching headings, your answers are always from detailed paragraphs, which people find quite lazy to read. So you need to ensure that you read through the paragraphs, read and understand. If possible, you see this technique, jotting, labeling, and making headings. It is for matching headings. So when you read a paragraph and have an understanding of what it's actually trying to pass across, give it a title. Write it beside it. You could just write it in a slanted form. Just give it that title. So when you go through each paragraph and give it a title, as you go to the questions of the matching headings, you realize that your heading is quite similar to that of the question. The only thing is your choice of words are different, right? So that will help you to easily match the headings, right? And the accuracy will also be high. But if you don't do that, a lot of mini maniple will play out. You have A, you write I, because you feel it's for I. Then read IX. You go to that same one, IX. So there are two answers there. Alright? So please, for matching headings, you need to skim. That is, you reading in between lines. You need to underline. That is, you are underlining information that you feel relates to the keywords in the passage or in the questions. Then you need to also, while you read and understand, you also need to give labelings to each paragraph. So when you do that, as you go to the question section, you then scan. What you scan, you are scanning those highlighted areas for your answer. Please, do you understand this? We are going to have projected practicals tomorrow by God's grace. Then let's look at identifying writers' views. My neighbor, this one I need to write it on the board, especially for you. Do you know why? Just hold on. Okay, please let me explain. This topic, identifying writers' views, which comes in two forms. Some passages will have it as true, false, not given, right? Some other passages will have it as yes, no, not given. A lot of test takers fail them. And the reason they fail them is not because they don't read and they don't get or understand what is written. The reason they fail them is because they overanalyze. In true, false, not given, please don't analyze. Just be critical in your choices. What do you need to do? Do you know why I say this way?
Yes, I know.
Now, do you know why it is important that you read carefully? This is because when you read a passage or paragraphs, then there will be extracts as statements. So you are required as a test taker to ascertain whether the statement is true, or whether the statement is false, or whether the statement is not given. So what do you do and how do you confirm that it's either true or false or not given? It is the passage that confirms that, not the statement. The statement is the test. So whatever they decide to express as statement, it is up to you to now confirm. Just let them give me 2 minutes. Now, when you read a passage and then you read a statement, it is easy to confirm that this statement is just exactly what is in the passage. Of course, it's going to be paraphrased though. Don't expect to see the same words. But you can easily confirm that this statement, look at it here. For you to confirm, please follow the statement or compare the statement to what is in the passage word for word. Word for word. That's when you confirm that this 101% the same. Then at that point it is true. Please, do you understand this? You might read a passage and the information there or quantity expressed in the passage is spelled in word. But when you go to the statement, it is not in word, it's in figure. But of course, when you compare the figure to the words, you see that it is the same value, right? So at this point, you can confidently say this is true. Now, let's go to false. For you to confirm that a statement is false, it means that there is a contradiction in that statement as compared to what is in a passage. So, the contradiction right now doesn't mean the entire statement too. The entire statement may not or will never contradict it. You might realize that 90% of that statement is actually exact as in a passage, but just 10%. And that 10% might be just one word. So some people will say, it's mistake, maybe it's mistake. It's true. That's the test. There is no mistake. So if a word is contradicting what is used in the passage, because of that single word, please, that information is false. If boy is used in the passage, and then maybe the boy is being talked about in the passage is referring to young, very young boys, and then the statement now says children. Oh my God! You can easily say, since between 3 to 5 years, they are children. The passage is specific to boys, so but you have seen children. You say, oh, they are children. I say it's true. It's false. Because children comprises both boys and girls. Please, do you understand this? So you need to be very careful. You need to be very careful. Some passages may say 100 in figure. Statements will repeat the same thing and put 1,000. That's the only difference. As humans, we don't always check. You don't take time to go through. You may not realize that there are 3 zeros. You might just check, you're right. At that point, it is false. Because the value in the statement is higher than the value in the passage. Please, do you understand? You need to be very careful. Take these things word for word and confirm. Now, let's go to not giving. For not giving, it simply means that the information in the statement cannot be found anywhere in the passage. That's when you say it's not given. Now, sometimes 90% of test takers choose false instead of not giving. The reason is very simple. They realize that 95% of the statement is actually in the passage. But just additional information, that's the 5% now, is not in the passage. So they feel, since everything is here, just this small one here, I think it's false. It's not like it's not giving because I'm seeing the majority of the parts. Right? So what do you do? What does not giving mean? When an information is nowhere expressed in the passage. It could be one word that is not added in the passage, but the statement has it. It could be a buttressed information. Maybe the statement or the passage didn't actually give an elaborated or a detailed information. Maybe the government says we are going to cater for all the children in primary schools across the state. That's what's in the passage. We're going to take care of all the children in primary schools across the state. Statement now says the authorities have passed into law to cater for every pupil in primary schools across the state. The same thing, right? By providing them with writing materials and lunch on a daily. Is it not true? Is it not true? It's not true. What is wrong with it?
Providing the things they were saying.
Thank you. How they are going to take care of the children is never exposed in the passage. But we as humans, we analyze a lot. They even added how what they would do. Right? This is what makes a lot of people feel. So please, if it is not there in the passage, it is not giving. It's not false, it is not giving. There is a very slim difference between false and not giving. So most times people choose false when it's actually not giving. So you have to be very analytical.
Stop using that not giving. These people, they always find work confusing people.
Nobody's confused anymore.
So you want to jump out? You want to go to their country. You have to know. You have to be familiar with these things.
But we're English-speaking countries.
Yeah.
They're not even supposed to be setting these things.
We are not. We are not.
But it depends to make this difficult for.
We are not English speakers. We are not.
We are not.
We are not.
Okay.
Can I ask you a few questions? Please, where are you from?
I'm from Anambra State.
Simple. She has answered the question as an English speaker.
I'm from Anambra, but I speak English.
No.
That's my native
Can I answer
language.
it?
Please,
Let me
where are
try.
you from?
You didn't state where you're from.
I'm from Cross River State, the northern part of Nigeria. I'm in
Yeah.
the southern part of Nigeria.
Southern part.
No, in southern part of Nigeria.
No English speaker will give your place of origin that way. Right?
Okay, the south.
How do Igbos tell someone to leave their house?
To correct myself.
If someone is in your house and the person is messing up, you want the person to leave your house. In Igbo, how do you say that? Sino lompo, right? Or wa.
Why is not
That's broken.
That is street Igbo. Right? But what I'm trying to actually establish right here is that our spoken English is a translation of our native dialect. So it is not English. A native English speaker will tell you, if overstayed your welcome. Politely, he's chasing you out. But some Igbos will tell you, come and be going. Is that English? Right? So we just don't speak English, but we translate our native dialect into English. So they want to confirm that you actually speak their own English. Do you understand? Okay, so for you to actually express some of these things, I beg you, ensure you are comparing the statements to what is provided in the passage word for word. With that, you'll be able to confirm whether it's true or false or not given. The same thing applies to yes, no, not given. Just the same approach, right? So a lot of people fail these guys woefully. And ironically, these guys appear like twice or thrice in a test. And each appearance comes with about 5 questions. So imagine a situation where you are not conversant with how to treat this guy. There is high tendencies that you might lose a lot of marks. And in IELTS, 3 points lost would drop your band score. Yes. So if someone scores maybe 29 over 40, and someone scores 30 over 40, for listening test, someone that wants to apply for express entry to Japan, what you are expected to have is band score 7 minimum, right? Now this is giving you 6.5, while this is giving you 7.0. Can you see the difference? Just 1 mark. Just 1 mark. So you just don't want to mess with your chances. Yes. So please work towards that. Alright, so these are the topics in reading test. I will give you a very quick test right about now. We're going to spend just about 25 minutes to treat the questions. So please, just give me a moment. I'll give you a short question reading task that touches almost all of these topics, right?